welcome to the session. It's wonderful to see some familiar names on the participants list and also some individuals that we don't know, individual enquirers, and also some people working in HR and leadership and development that we call our commissioners. So welcome everyone. I'm Dr. Jill Ingham. I'm Client Relations Manager for Apprenticeships. Been doing this for a couple of years now. And my job, I have a great job, is to talk to a whole range of individuals and commissioners from just about every sector you can think of, which is very interesting, and I feel very lucky about that. And before we hear an introduction from my two colleagues, Stuart and Dane, I just wanted to share with you something that I've learnt in the 6 years that I've been involved in executive education, management and leadership courses. And that's in particular the unit we teach called Market-Led Strategy on the MSc apprenticeship. That has come in very useful for my role as a trustee of my local community centre, when we had a lot of sessions on focusing on strategy and what the market wanted and how to meet those requirements. So I'm very grateful to have learned about that. Now I shall hand over to Stuart Wells to introduce himself, please.
Thanks, Jill. So good to see everyone. Thanks for joining us today. My name is Stuart Wells. I'm an Executive Director of Client Relations based in the Executive Education Department with Jill and Dane. Now, my role is I'm responsible for the Client Relations and Business Development team. And about 4 years ago, we were going out meeting clients, and the theme was really like the work that you're doing, but going forward, we need this to be funded using Apprenticeship Levy funding. So Jill and I were really the champions for apprenticeships in Alliance Manchester Business School. We set to work on a business case and developed a brand new program called the MSc Management Practice program, which launched about 2.5 years ago now. Program's been really successful. We'll be up to 10 cohorts in January, working with a wide range of people. So we look forward to telling you more about that program today. Myself, in terms of learning, many years ago I undertook an MBA, and I've got to say one of the things I found frustrating at the time on an MBA was we were learning all kinds of knowledge which I couldn't quite apply to my organisation, and one of the modules I took was around information systems. So went through a whole module on information systems, thinking, okay, how do I use this? Couldn't quite use it at the time, and then about 4 years later, I ended up setting up a company, so a subsidiary company for another university. In the case, I had to implement a full booking management and CRM system, and from the knowledge I'd learnt from the MBA, I was actually able to do that. And if I hadn't have gone on that qualification, I think I certainly would have struggled at that time. So it's about looking not just what you want to learn today, but it's also what you want to learn in the future, which will help you develop in roles that you want to take on. I'll now hand over to Dane, who will introduce himself.
Hi everyone, yes, I'm Dr. Dane Anderton. I'm the Deputy Programme Director for the MSc Management Practice. So one of my main roles on the programme is to work with fantastic colleagues Jill and Stuart in speaking to you, giving you some information about the programme, but I also teach on the programme. I deliver the biggest unit, the Integrated Development Project, which for me is a fascinating unit to deliver, because I get to learn from you what you're doing in your organizations, how you're applying your knowledge, your skills, and changing your behaviors in the workplace. So that for me is a massive learning curve, to see how you do things differently, how we see that transfer between organizations as well. So I'll leave it there and pass back to Jill, and hopefully you'll hear from me shortly.
Thank you very much, Dane and Stuart. So the next thing we're going to talk about is where we stand on COVID, because I'm sure you're all interested to know how on earth we're delivering our programs in the current climate and the changes. Well, clearly the well-being of staff, clients, students and delegates is paramount. Back in March, the campus closed down, the whole campus, including the business school, but it reopened towards the end of August to allow students to return in a staggered and limited way. All of the programs in executive education have continued, but of course the teaching moved online. So face-to-face teaching is clearly limited. But the brilliant thing about the MSc and MBA apprenticeships is that they can either be run blended, which is face-to-face in the classroom and online, or entirely online. So students, you don't miss out anything by whether or not it goes online or in the classroom. And in fact, our online workshops have worked extremely well. So the next topic we need to cover is something called the Level 7 review, which you might have heard some rumours that this whole senior leader apprenticeship is going to be scrapped next year, and you might be wondering what's happening. Well, January 2021, the intake we are currently recruiting for will be the last one in its current form. That is true, absolutely true. And as a business school, we have liaised very closely with the Trailblazer Employer Group that you might have heard of to try and persuade them to keep the qualifications along with other universities. But sadly, they are going to be removed. So there won't be an MBA and MSc qualification available after the January intake. And we're currently waiting for news from the Institute of Apprenticeships to find out, you know, what we can and can't do from March next year. And we're expecting that decision later this month, actually. We're expecting the funding band to be lower than what it is now, the amount of money available per place on these programs. And the great news is that we're already designing an exciting new version of the Senior Leader Apprenticeship with a couple of options attached to it. But unfortunately, we can't tell you about it today until we get all these permissions through. What we do know is that the 8 cohorts already up and running won't be affected, and nor will the 2 cohorts that will start in January, of which you may well end up being a part. Just want to move on now to a bit about where we're coming from, what's our ethos and what are our values. The slogan of the business school is original thinking applied. And you know, why do we have that as our slogan? Well, our aim is always to make a difference to your learning, to your development, and to your organisation. As you know, we're part of a world-class university. We have 5 international centres around the globe, and so we learn a lot constantly about what businesses want all over the world, and we bring that knowledge, you know, in to reflect what they need onto our programs. We are one of only 1% of business schools around the world that are triple accredited by the professional organisations. Our executive education is ranked 21st in the world, and our doctorate in business education is ranked 2nd in the UK. But what does all that mean for you? Well, what it means is that our research and teaching is we always want it to be applied to you in person now in your organisation. So not just lots of theories and models in the abstract. And how do we do that? We do it via something called action sets and reflective practice papers. So this is where we ask you to take what we've taught you on any particular unit and apply it to you as a manager, as a leader, and to where you work, and think to yourself, well, the thing that really struck me out of all the information and theories and reading that I've been given to do, that particular thing is what I'm going to talk about in my paper, and that's how we assess you. For each unit, you do a paper on what you think will be of most use where you work. So in short, you are guaranteed impact and high quality if you join us. We just want to show you now a picture of so this picture here of our new teaching centre, which we invested some £90 million in a couple of years ago with the adjoining Hyatt Regency Hotel. So as and when we can return to face-to-face, hopefully sometime in spring or early summer, this is where you will come for the 3-day workshops. And before that, the induction day. There's a car park right next to it, and the whole site is only about 20 minutes walk from Manchester Piccadilly Station. I'm saying that because we do attract quite a lot of people from outside of Manchester and outside even the Northwest onto this programme. And this next slide will just give you a flavour of the sheer diversity of sectors that have been attracted to our apprenticeships. Obviously, a lot of NHS and healthcare people. DWF is a big law firm. The nuclear sector, manufacturing, technology, rail, local councils, and so on. Every sector you can think of, basically. About 1/4 of the students on the programme are public sector, and basically, in short, just one word about the type of person and their job roles. If you could just flip back, please, Dane. Yeah, we get quite a lot of what we call functional managers, so operations manager, finance manager, clearly seeking to broaden out and embrace marketing and innovation and a whole load of other areas of business. But also it has attracted more senior people who are already playing a strategic role in their organisations, but they want to get better, and they know they've got some things to address. So in short, the programs are suitable for people who want to learn, want to improve, enhance their career, move upwards, and take on more responsibility. So thank you, Dane. I'll now hand over to you to, first of all, start by telling us about the impact that the programs have had.
Thank you very much, Jill. I will just apologise if my connection goes a bit loose. I will turn off my camera, but hopefully my audio will still come through. So the Senior Leader Degree Apprenticeship was designed and launched in March 2018. Since then, we've designed a programme for that particular Senior Leader standard. So we've looked at what it was looking at in terms of knowledge, skills and behaviours, and we've designed around that. In doing so, we're now working with over 100 employers, 43% of which kind of reside in the public sector, 54% in the private sector, but also we're now seeing an increase in the third sector, so your voluntary charitable organisations taking up more of the places as well on each of our cohorts as we've developed. In terms of number of apprenticeships, we're now 250 plus apprentices, and again, this number is constantly changing. This is on our MBA and also on our MSc Management Practice. And again, we've got a really good gender balance between our cohorts, with 45% of people being female, being women on the course. And also, one thing we're also proud of is our 33% non-standard entry. So that means people who don't have a degree or prior kind of university type qualification who have managed to get on the program as well. So this is not just exclusive for people who have done academic qualifications before and then looking to do, say, a master's. This is about widening participation amongst all types of people in the workplace who are moving into these leadership type roles, who may have been doing these roles for quite some time and have a very good technical expertise, but don't necessarily have this management and leadership knowledge to back up and give them some validity in the workplace, if you like. So we're about widening participation, tackling the social mobility element, which is a key factor, especially in the North at the moment, and you might have seen through many kind of political debates playing out at the moment. But also the key here and where we are positioned and what University of Manchester Alliance Manchester Business School is key at doing is looking at productivity. We were recently awarded an Economic and Social Research Council grant of up to 30 million to look at productivity and to develop a centre of excellence in productivity at the university. So all of this, what we are doing in terms of our research and how that then plays out in terms of this apprenticeship program and our future programs, is all about looking at productivity and tackling the productivity gap that we have here in the UK, in the North, or even in your locality. So moving forward, looking at the degree apprenticeships in total, they are kind of like a dual award. If you look at the MSc management practice, what this is saying here, it's dual function. We're looking at knowledge, what we can depart to, our current cutting edge research from our professors, our lecturers here at the University of Manchester, but also meeting that with your professional experience. Okay, so it's looking at a set of standards. You might be familiar with work with terminology like frameworks, which are kind of used kind of in the past around technical skills and vocational skills. We now have a set of standards, which are a set of competencies, if you like, that look at knowledge, skills and behaviours. And these have been developed by a trailblazer group of organisations that have got together and said, well, what is this perfect, or what is this senior leader, if you like? Can actually be a perfect senior leader is a question we tackle on the first day with you in our programme induction day. But it's looking at basically a set of competencies that you are to work towards and achieve. But what we do here through our programs is create a rich learning experience over that 2-year period for you to bring in your practical knowledge or real world experience and marry that up with our knowledge, our academic expertise at a Russell Group university. So we are very much keen to teach you in small groups. We have groups no more than 30 in terms of a single teaching space. You may have larger groups when it comes to doing 1-hour webinars where we're talking about content and some ideas, but mostly you are developing small group teaching practices whilst you're with us. And it runs in parallel with a number of activities that you will take along during this program. The end goal being, yes, there is a master's attached to this, a master's level award. There is also chartered manager status via the CMI attached to this, but also you will get a completion of a fully completed apprenticeship as well. So that's something for your organisation to kind of be looking out for, how many apprenticeships we can complete, and that's the end goal, a successful apprenticeship. So looking at our first program here is our MBA, our global MBA, which is mapped to the Senior Leader Apprenticeship Standard. Now, the MBA is a different program to the MSc Management Practice, and it's a different way of learning as well. So in terms of how you will be structured throughout the year, you will be doing certain units in parallel, so at the same time, whereas the MSc does one after the other. But looking at an MBA, you're looking at the cornerstones of an organisation, those operations, marketing, accounting and finance, strategy, operations. You are looking at several cornerstones, which are traditional in most MBAs that are run in other business schools as well. But the global MBA at Manchester is one of the kind of the original MBAs, stemming from the university's long history. It has been one of the forefronts of the business education. So the MBA has got 2 years attached to this. The first year focusing again on that managing and leading in global environments, looking at the key cornerstones of marketing and operations, accounting and finance. You will also do a business simulation as part of that first year. And again, that's looking at an automotive simulation. So we put in small groups. It's a chance for you to kind of test your knowledge that you've learned and put it into some practice in a safe environment. And you'll be set some parameters and the simulation will work you through that. In your second year, you will do strategy and competition, kind of again a big cornerstone of any kind of strategic leader moving into the future from an MBA. But you get the option of 3 electives and then also a live business project, which will focus on something to do maybe in your organisation. It depends how your groups are put together in terms of that business project, but something that's live, something that's real, an organisational problem that you can tackle and learn from. In terms of the electives, that will be offered to you on this particular program. There's a number that will be offered, such as entrepreneurship and innovation management, sustainability and social responsibility, things like negotiation skills, supply chain management as well. There are a number of electives available depending on when you join and what's available at the time, but generally you'll have an option of 3 of these to look at, and you'll be in with other MBA students as well, not just those on the apprenticeship route here. So that's an example here of our MBA route. When if you want more information on this, I suggest that you contact us for an individual conversation as well, because it's about finding out which program is right for you. But diving into the MSc Management Practice, so this is the program that was developed on the back of the Senior Leader Degree Apprenticeship Standard, the more bespoke one to achieving the standard as well. So the program has 2 start dates, usually July and January, and the next one for you will be in January. The program is kind of in 3 sections if you want to look at it, a kind of a broad overview. The first being the pre-program elements, which are your online induction to our virtual learning environment, Blackboard. You will also then have a program immersion day that will take place in January, where you will be brought together. We will go through the programming a little bit more detail than we can actually do today. We do some actual activities around academic skills as well, and we have a bit of fun on the day basically as well, just to get people settled in, networking, getting to know each other and creating that sense of community. Whether we do that online or face-to-face, the principles remain the same. You will also be asked to do some pre-work psychometrics. So we use a Hogan psychometric on this particular program, and I will speak about that a little bit more later on in terms of its detail. But the Hogan psychometric is key to this program. It links to 2 units in particular, but you can take things from it throughout the program. It links to the first unit, which is reflexive leadership in context. So that is about you. We start with you, understanding you. But it also links to the integrated development project, which is a long, thin unit. It's one of the first units you start. It's also the last one that you will do. And I'll give a bit more detail into that in a moment. That is the biggest unit, the one that I teach on. I call it the master's unit. Without it, you don't get an MSc and you can't complete the apprenticeship. But looking through how this program is taught, compared to our MBA, you do 1 unit at a time here. So you will do Unit 1 in a kind of 12 or 3-month block, starting with 3 webinars, 1 every other week. You will then come to us and do around 2.5 days through up to 3 days worth of content face-to-face with us, or online at the moment, as we are having to teach online due to government restrictions around the coronavirus. Then you will have another webinar after those, that kind of 3-day workshop, which is kind of 2.5 days face-to-face and some other additional content for you to kind of digest as well. You will then do a webinar which consolidates and focuses on those assignments that Jill mentioned earlier on. It focuses on that reflective practice piece, that reflective practice paper. How do I take an organizational problem and use the knowledge from this particular unit to tackle that problem or that opportunity? They don't have to be problems, they can be opportunities. How can I look at having impact? Then you will move on to the next unit. So reflexive leadership and context, then followed by market-led strategy, followed by measuring business value, entrepreneurship and innovation, strategic commercial management, and strategic project organizing. Those 6 units are the core units of this particular program. You then have the option, depending on when you join and what's available at the time, to join take up 2 optional units which come from our global MBA. So some of the units I've mentioned, like negotiation skills, will be options for this course, or sustainable and responsible business. We also have, I think, a 3rd option which has been used recently, digital platform ecosystems, which looks at big data basically. So there'll be a number of options available to you, but that is dependent on when you join and how many people want to do those particular units as well. So that takes you through our program, each following a very similar format of 3 webinars every other week, followed by workshop space, which will be face-to-face, unfortunately online at the moment, and then will be 1 more webinar after that, which consolidates and speaks about the assignment. All of them have reflective practice papers attached to them. So again, stressing what Jill said right at the beginning, this is about impact, making sure you take the knowledge, you apply it into your organization, develop new skills, and then change behaviors as well, which is compliant with the Senior Leader Apprenticeship knowledge, skills and behaviours, those competencies that you are supposed to develop alongside this programme. The grey bar at the bottom you'll see is practice-based tutors. You will have one-to-one support throughout this programme via a practice-based tutor. They are also a Hogan trained coach as well. So they understand that psychometric and can help you understand what it means to you, to help you with that first unit, and to also give you a 360 perspective on yourself, which is part of that integrated development project. So post-programme, so we've done all the academic units in this. There is an executive education network that you will join, as well as becoming part of the University of Manchester's alumni networks. But you will then undertake an endpoint assessment, and I'll come on to what that endpoint assessment is in a few slides on. That endpoint assessment is with the CMI. The CMI then give you chartered management status should you complete it and be successful at completing that. We also do an impact evaluation with organisations if they wish to take that up as well. But what you are the example of that impact, and it's about giving you the opportunities, whether you're on the MBA or whether you're on this programme, to say, here is my portfolio of evidence of how I as a person have developed, but not just individually, but how I have then taken that in the organisation and driven organisational impact. So these slides will be sent out to you, so I don't intend on kind of going into much depth here, but these are some of the topic contents and topics that we will go through each of the units. So again, looking at this program in particular, looking at some of the cornerstones of organizational development, strategy, innovation, how we deliver that change via projects, but also looking at things like commercial strategic management, which is actually an optional unit on our MBA, but we've made it core on this particular program. So drilling down into that integrated development project unit, I said this is the biggest unit on the program. It's the master's unit. It is also the apprenticeship unit. So a lot is attached to this particular program, this particular unit, sorry. This unit has a personal development plan which takes that Hogan psychometric and allows you to really do a deep dive within it and develop a plan that will stick with you throughout the 2 years. And you do this with your practice-based tutor, who is also linked to this unit. This is the unit where you will also drive a project, a major project, if you like, within your organization to look at changing something or seizing an opportunity, looking at a particular problem. And that will be worked throughout the 18-month program, 18 months of the program. Throughout this, you will also be developing a portfolio of evidence. That portfolio of evidence is you demonstrating the senior leader apprenticeship standard, the knowledge, skills and behaviours. By doing the units and passing our academic units, you are in essence passing the knowledge aspects. It's about them finding the evidence, whether it be a company report, a presentation, a reflective log, if you like, that you've taken that knowledge, developed the skill attached to that and can demonstrate it and put it in your portfolio of evidence as well. All of that comes together, and that is kind of key to making sure you've done and are ready to go through an endpoint assessment. So one of the critical points about the MSc management practice is that you will be doing what's required for an endpoint assessment as part of the program. So it gets you both academic credits, but sets you up so you can walk into your endpoint assessment. The arrangements for doing this on the MBA are slightly different, so we'd have to have a one-to-one conversation with you on that one. But part of this program is not to necessarily derive of this unit is not to drive content like the others do, but to ensure that you're having impact and developing and deriving that impact in the organisation and personally as well. We have 2 days where we come together using action learning sets, doing some reflective thinking, making sure that you're on track and sharing our projects with other people as well and our thinking around that. And that's for me one of the best ways of learning, is to actually tell others what you're doing and what your understanding actually is. And that is a key theme throughout this program. Not us standing at the front telling you things. That, yeah, it's a small part of it. The biggest part is about you working with others, translating what we have, thinking through things individually, and making sure that you understand and bringing the questions back to us, challenging us as well. So I keep mentioning here about the change, opportunity, organizational impact. This program is designed around that last bit there, impact. What can you have inside your organization? How can you develop yourself as an individual? So I've broken it down here as kind of to say there are 8 small incremental opportunities, points of change, points of impact, problem solving aspects that you can look at linked to leadership, strategy, resourcing, innovation, your commercial management projects, but also 2 options. You have these optional units. So if you're very much into sustainability, then that's another opportunity and change you can have here. But there's also one major radical change that you can have through the project linked to the integrated development project unit that I lead on. So that is what we're trying to say here. There are 9 opportunities, 9 impacts, 9 points of change that you can have inside the organization, and you are driving those. Those come from you, and you leading a better team, you thinking more strategically, you allocating resources better. So I mentioned the Hogan psychometric before, and how that plays a part in the pre-course and also part of the course as well. We use 3 inventories from the Hogan psychometric: the HPI, the Hogan personality inventory, a Hogan development survey, and then we use the MVPI, motives, values and preferences. Now the Hogan psychometric is the only psychometric that's accredited by the British Psychological Association. It's the only one that looks at you in a workplace context. Now, you may have heard of Myers-Briggs and DISC and some other ones that are out there on the market. We've chosen this one because of its impact and its focus on you in a workplace context. We feel it's one of the most powerful, most encompassing psychometrics that we can use. So the HPI, the first one, the yellow boxes, is looking at your bright side. And this is something that the practice-based tutor, also a Hogan coach, will really do a deep dive with you in your first meeting with them, which happens within the first 2 months of you joining the program. That looks at how other people see you in the workplace. When things are going well, what shines about you? What kind of person are you? The HDS is the development survey. So when things get a little bit stressful, like right now maybe, when things get a little bit tense in the workplace, when the stress levels are up, the workload is up, this is how sometimes our bright side personalities can trigger and actually become a hindrance, can become dark side traits. Okay, and it's about being aware of those, and that's what the development survey is about. Not saying you are this person, but to be wary of when things get stressful. This is what you may do. This is how you may react to things. So it's being mindful, and that's the point of this psychometric, why it links to the first unit and why it links to your personal development plan as part of the integrated development project. It's giving you that 360, that self-awareness that we are looking for if you want to be a senior leader and to be working at level 7. Motives, values and preferences kind of explains itself there. It's what drives you, what really gets you going, what you go to bed for, what kind of person, what kind of jobs you actually look for as well. But it's about looking at all 3 of these together and developing a coaching report from that, which impacts your personal development plan. And then at the end of the course, you come back to look at this and review it as well. So who I was then, who I am now, what have I changed now that I'm more self-aware? I've mentioned the practice-based tutor already. This person is the key liaison. You will get one each, okay, between you. So it's a one-to-one contact that will meet with you at least 8 times throughout the year. They will also be available on occasion after particular units have run and you're on campus with us. They're also part of the integrated development project, so they're actually there on the IDP days that you have with me. Every student is allocated a practice-based tutor. They are there for pastoral support. They also provide supervisionary support throughout the project as well. They're there to look at how you can evidence and develop. They look after the portfolio with you, but it's very much driven by you. And this is the person who's the critical friend from the academic point of view. They'll manage and support you in quarterly review meetings, those 8 meetings across the program, 4 per year. At least one of those should be face-to-face. Obviously, COVID restrictions allowing, hopefully, in the next 12 months. They act as that supervisor, that coordinator to the integrated development project, but they are key to verifying that you are ready to go into that endpoint assessment. Hence why they are part of the unit that I run, the big masters unit, and also the big apprenticeship unit, if you like. So they are a key player in all of this. So they will pester you a little bit to get things done, but it's all for your benefit and your development. You will have to identify a work-based mentor inside your organization. This work-based mentor is, again, could be a line manager or a senior professional colleague who's familiar with what you're trying to do here. But they will also be a key liaison. They will join these quarterly review meetings with the practice-based tutor and yourself. They're the person who should be able to get you access to 20% off the job time. They will be able to help develop you, help open up opportunities to you as well. So this person just needs to be identified, ideally before the program, and we do understand that the mentor may change throughout the program as the organization may change and people move on or develop. So we can be quite flexible, but it's about identifying that person who will take an interest in you. We do run some mentor training sessions. We have some webinars that can be watched. We have lots of documents. So if the person you're asking says, I want to know a little bit more, just get in touch and we can give you those documents and give you that information. Briefly touching here on our portfolio tools. So as part of that big masters unit, the integrated development project, you are to develop a project which kind of brings together that knowledge, skills and behaviours that you've developed. It's kind of a portfolio of continuous professional development. We use PebblePad, very easy to use, very click and play in terms of drag and drop files, write a quick narrative around these things and submit, tagging in kind of various different knowledge, skills and behaviours. So very click and play. It's a portfolio that can go with you beyond the program, so you will maintain access to it. It's part of your future, could be part of your future CPD needs as well. We also have lots of videos on how to use this and lots of instructional guides as well. We also have a dedicated person who looks after this, one of our instructional designers, Hayley Atkinson, who can help you through at any point, anything to do with our technology that we use. So we've touched on assessment. Jill touched on it first, and I've kind of talked about the reflective practice papers. You'll be happy to know, maybe some of you may love the fact that you may love exams, but we can say here there are no exams on this particular program on the MSc management practice. The assessments on the MBA do vary a little bit, hence why a one-to-one conversation is better if you want to know more about that particular program. But on our MSc management practice, the assessments are reflective practice papers. There is one group activity that is done on the workshop days, so the face-to-face days. That's worth 25% of the overall unit mark. That's a group reflective assignment, or it could actually be a simulation that's done in our innovation and entrepreneurship unit. But the vast majority of the marks, 75% of the marks, come from an individual applied assignment by you writing a reflective practice paper on an issue, problem, opportunity in your organization, applying the course content, themes and tools to that. Each of these assignments are 3,000 words long. The group activities is much shorter, sometimes only 300 words long in terms of a reflective statement, maybe a PowerPoint or a simulation. The integrated development project is slightly different because it's a bigger unit. You do a personal development plan, which is 1,000-word reflective statement plus the coaching report from Hogan and a skills scan. The work-based project is 7,500 words, but it follows a similar format to the reflective practice papers. I say it's reflective practice paper on steroids. So rather than 3,000, you actually do 7,500. And then the portfolio of evidence is 10 to 15 discrete pieces of evidence that you put in there. So in essence, it's kind of a piece of evidence in the portfolio every 2 months, which is very achievable and very easy to do. So not a lot of work for that. But most of our units, the 8 units that you will do on the MSc, follow that similar assessment method, group activity, and then an assignment worth 25 and 75 respectively. The off-the-job training, and I don't like this word, I'm very open about it to anyone who asks. 20% off the job is, for me, mischaracterizing what it is, because you're technically still on the job. You're developing skills in the workplace as well as coming to us for workshops. So I like to say it's more near the job training, or it's enhancing your own personal development. So activity is not part of the normal work as such. So you're next to your job, you're looking for shadowing opportunities to kind of tackle the knowledge, skills and behaviors. You're being given the opportunity to work on the business rather than in it all the time, or on the organization rather than in it and the operational side. You can take a step back. And we say that that 20% is kind of, take a quarters rule. A quarter of it is the online course content and units. A quarter of it is those workshops, the face-to-face elements that you'll do with us. A quarter of it is the project alone. That is a big piece of this. And a quarter of it comes from workplace development. This 20% is not equal to 1 day a week. It comes in peaks and troughs. You will do more of it in 1 month or 1 week than you will do in other months or other weeks. So it's about looking at how that balances out across the 2-year program. And a PebblePad system is where this time needs to be logged. Not time to the minute or the second, but a holistic view of what you've done in a particular week or a particular day. And PebblePad has a set number of hours. So you don't need to record everything and everything, but it's about achieving those hours across the entire program. Some examples, you're probably already doing some of this, but it's about making sure that what you are doing is achieving that senior leader apprenticeship standard, the knowledge, skills and behaviours that are outlined in that. Simply putting in, I've done a presentation and it didn't link to anything, that shouldn't be put in as evidence, and that's not part of the 20% off the job. It has to be linked. These could also be learning and development conferences or events that you might attend. It might be things like planning and setting objectives, horizon scanning and things like that. So it's about how it links. This is what the practice-based tutor is there for, that one-to-one time, those 8 meetings across the program. That's the person you go to ask, I've done this, is this part of my 20%? Can I log it as my 20% off the job? And they will verify that for you. So the last bit is the endpoint assessment. So we've done the pre-program, the Hogan, we've talked about the program, the middle bit, and then there's also the end bit. So the endpoint assessment is where you get completion, successful completion of an apprenticeship program. You get the chartered manager status. Your master's, usually your graduation comes after this as well in terms of the timings. But the endpoint assessment has 2 distinctive elements to it. You are to report on a project, so write a project report. Hold on a minute. On the MSc, we've already done that because we do a write-up of the through the integrated development project. The only additional thing you have to do is create a short presentation around it to do to the panel. So the work has already been done by the MSc management practice. Partly on the MBA, you would have done a live project that you can, again, do here and present. You will also have a professional discussion around that portfolio that you build. Hold on a minute. Integrated development project requires you as part of the academic assessment to build a project, to build a portfolio. So this work on the MSc management practice has already been done. Okay, slightly different on the MBA, and we can have a conversation about that if need be. But both, whether you come through the MBA or the MSc, will have an endpoint assessment whereby you will do a report with presentation and you will have a professional discussion. The professional discussion is usually around 60 to 90 minutes based on our experience and my experience, having done apprenticeships now since 2016. That discussion is usually around an hour maximum. But the extra time is in case someone's very talkative and obviously you want to, it's a celebration really. You're telling people about what you've done over these 2 years. The project showcase is a 15-minute project presentation and then a 45-minute discussion about what you've done. This, to me, the endpoint assessment, is you celebrating what you've done, what you've achieved as an individual and inside your organization over the period of the program to get another qualification, which is the chartered manager status, and access then to that professional body, and also your masters and also a completed apprenticeship. So 3 things are the outcome of sitting this endpoint assessment. So that's my part done. I've done a whistle-stop tour of the entire program, and I'm happy to take questions at the end. But I'll hand over now to Stuart to finish off this PowerPoint.
Okay, thanks, Dane. So I just want to talk to you briefly around how we would partner with your organisation. So Dane set out there's two options for the Level 7 programme. So you've got the MSc and the MBA. So we'd work with you as individuals looking to study to advise you on the best programme for your requirements. And we'd also work with organisations. Say if you've got a number of people, what's the most suitable route for those people? What's the best way to structure the apprenticeship in your organisation? Dane mentioned the integrated development project. So we would tailor that programme to organisational needs. So the way it works is that it's co-designed between ourselves as a university, you as a student, and the organisation. So the student benefits, but the organisation also sees some impact because the student is working on a challenge that organisation has. Dane also mentioned the practice-based tutor. So this is a unique role on apprenticeships, and these people will be with each student for the duration of the program. So you will have a single point of contact, and they will provide that support, the advice, the guidance, and you can go to them throughout the program. So it's not just those 8 meetings, it's ongoing support that you would have. You'd also have that support from the mentor as well. So Dane highlighted that. So it is a benefit to the organisation because it gives people, managers, other roles other than just being a line manager. They actually take on a more of a coaching and advisory role. In terms of the tracking systems, we've invested significantly in technology. So we've got systems like PebblePad, we've got Blackboard. So you'll be able to see as a learner how you're progressing through the program. And we can also help and advise where we can see actually this person's not progressing as we quite like. So we'll flag that and we'll come up with development plans to enable you to stay on track with the program. And finally, one of the main benefits of undertaking an MSc or an MBA program is you will develop a network of people that are almost tried and trusted advisors. And what we want you to do is develop that network through the program and then continue it after you've graduated. So we've developed a network called the Executive Education Network, and that normally includes a range of face-to-face events with world-class speakers that you can come to at the business school. At the moment, because of COVID-19, we're delivering those sessions online. But again, if you sign up, you'll be receiving those sessions straight away online. And then once we come back, they'll be face-to-face, which gives you the opportunity really to catch up with people on your program outside of formal classroom study. You can see great speakers, but also gives you that chance to socialise. And that will continue after the programme. We run a yearly conference called the Executive Education Network Conference, which is a one-day conference at the school, and you'll be able to attend that along with your classmates on an ongoing basis. So again, it gives you that touch point to learn latest thinking from the business school. And I want to talk through the application process for the programme. So in terms of the entry requirements, both the MBA and the MSc route requires GCSE English Language and Maths passes at grade A to C. Please note, this isn't a University of Manchester requirement. It's very much a government requirement. And it's probably been our biggest challenge when it comes to running the programme, because you need to show evidence, and the evidence is the certificate. So we've had some great stories of where people have found their GCSE or O-level certificates. I think somebody rang Jill up on a Sunday because they've actually found it in their grandmother's loft when they went for tea there. So we will assist you with this. If you don't have that certificate, don't worry. We will help you in terms of applying to your exam board to get that evidence. If you've studied not in the UK, again, we've got a system called the NARIC system, and we can help compare the qualifications you achieved where you studied them in relation to GCSE English and Maths, and they can be accepted. If you don't have GCSE English Language and Maths, not a problem. What you would undertake is something called the Functional Skills Level 2 program. So this is part of the overall apprenticeship fee. It's normally a 2-day program with a short test after it, and you don't have to have this before you come on the program. Normally, you'd start it about 6 months into the MSc program, and it's nothing to worry about. You'll study on an MSc, which is level 7. This is a level 2 program, and the idea is it's just making sure that you've actually got the English level and maths level. And you're able to study towards that. So we will work with you on this. In terms of the admissions criteria, we've got 2 criteria. The first one is 3 years management experience, a good degree, which the University of Manchester class as a 2-1, and that can be in any subject. And we also take an equivalent academic or professional qualification, and you can talk to Dane and the admissions team about what constitutes that equivalent academic qualification. The second criteria is for people who do not have a degree or have got a degree below a 2-1. Now, in terms of our multi-organisational cohorts, around 30% of people coming on the programme come through this criteria, and we'd actively encourage that people do apply under this criteria. What we'd look for is significant management experience, so we see that as 5 years plus, and a record of achievement in business and leadership. And the way you can demonstrate that is by submitting a CV, so we can understand how you've achieved throughout your career. Now, in terms of the applications process itself, what we'd ask you to do is go on our website. You can get there quickly by just Googling apprenticeships at Alliance Manchester Business School, and there's more information on there. You can also contact my colleague Jill for more information, and there is Jill's email address and mobile phone number, so you can get hold of her quickly. Once you've reviewed the admissions requirements, the deadlines for the programs are coming up fast. So the MSc is the 16th of November, and the Global MBA is the 30th of November. Now, what we'd say is try and get your applications in before these dates. The program has been both programs have actually been incredibly popular, partly because of this change in government funding. So my advice is don't wait till the 16th of November or the 30th of November. Get them in as soon as you can, because in terms of admissions, we work on a first come, first received basis, and there are limited spaces. Once you've reviewed the requirements, what we'd say, if you've got any questions, again, come back to us, but also speak with your line manager and get that sign off that they're happy to give you that 20% off the job learning. You then go onto the University of Manchester website, and there is an online application form that you would need to complete. You would also, at this stage, you need to gather that additional information. So that's information such as those GCSE certificates that I mentioned, or the CV if you're going down route 2. Things like a copy of your passport as well you need to provide. Now, at this stage, what we'd also need to do is agree contracts with your employer. Now, if we've already got contracts set up, it's relatively straightforward. We just add to that contract. If they haven't, what we need is a contact details of somebody who's responsible for apprenticeships in the organisation. So this is normally somebody in learning and development. If you give us those contact details, we'll contact them and arrange for those apprenticeship contracts to be signed off. Once all that's signed off, you'll be accepted onto the MSc and the MBA, depending on which pathway you choose. Now, just a word of warning, this process normally takes about 4 weeks, which is why the deadlines are in November. And once you've got a notification, so we'd inform you as soon as we can. As soon as you apply, you'll get a notification. Once you're accepted, again, you'd get a notification. But you don't need to worry if you haven't heard from us for 2 weeks. It's not a case of you not getting on. It's just we're still going through the necessary due diligence that the university requires.
Well, thank you very much, everybody. I think I personally have really enjoyed that. I think Stuart and Dane have as well. So thank you very much, and do get in touch with any further questions, or if you want to explore further, we'd love to hear from you. And everybody stay safe.
Thank you very much.
That's all. Bye.
Yeah, bye.